One of the reasons why I stopped making videos was because I fell into a state where I didn't feel inspired enough to be creative and much less to share. And I think there might be a lot of people that are in the same position but that have difficulty identifying what they are going through and understanding and knowing what to do about it. And that's what I would like to talk about in this video. More specifically, I would like to talk about how anxiety builds up, hidden signs of anxiety, and small actions that you can do to keep anxiety out of the radar. If we start by talking about what builds up anxiety, if we take to the side trauma and illness, we see that there's a lot of connection between anxiety and stress, and I've actually made a video about it that you can watch. I will put somewhere the link for you to watch it if you want to understand the difference between stress and anxiety. But basically, there is a subtle difference between stress and anxiety, and many times what happens is that as anxiety builds up, we start feeling more and more signs of it, but sometimes we can't really identify these signs. And so many times we come to a point where our bodies are pretty much like screaming at us that something needs to change, that something is out of balance. And yet again, we can't really understand the message from the body, and we just keep going until the sound or the message is so loud that we can't ignore it anymore. This actually happened with me recently when I was starting to feel some body ache, and I wasn't really practicing yoga as I usually like to practice. And it came to a point where the pain on my shoulder was so strong that I could not ignore it anymore, and I had to do something about it. And that pain actually spiraled things up, because then I started doing more and more positive things to heal the pain, and then I started doing more and more things to take care of my health and feel better because of that pain. And in the end, I keep on with the good habits and the pain is gone, and in the end it was a very nice message that I got from my body that what I was doing wasn't really good for me, and that I needed to change tracks. So that is very much what happens many of the times, that anxiety builds up slowly, and there are things that you can do when it's still not a very significant aspect of your life before it becomes that big thing in your life. So anxiety can build up progressively, and when that's the case, it's really good to approach it in its earliest states. So let's look at some of the hidden signs of anxiety that you can spot as early as possible. Sometimes I like to think of psychological states with metaphors with the weather, and I think that when it comes to anxiety, it would really be, if you are out and about and all of a sudden the wind starts to pick up stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, and at some point you have the hair all over you, and to make things worse, you have a bunch of really important papers to hold on to, and the wind is so strong you cannot even hear things properly, things are flying all around. It's a very agitated scene. You really just want to go inwards where there's no wind and where there's peace, there's quiet, there's silence, and you don't have to handle that agitation around you. So I would say that anxiety really is that windy day, that it's really making you nervous just by how loud and uncomfortable it is. And of course, when you are handling this kind of environment around you, if you are going through all this agitation around you, in the case of the wind, obviously when it's in the case of anxiety, it's within you that you feel all this agitation within you, it's very likely that you will start feeling some consequences of it. And some of the consequences are, for example, that you are easily irritable. Things can make you snap very quickly. Sometimes you can't even recognize yourself, how quickly and how hard you snapped at something that was perhaps quite simple. Another thing is, as I mentioned, some muscle pain and tensions and maybe headaches. Many times we don't associate the physical feelings, how we feel in the body, with mental states, but they are so often connected. So it's really important to listen to what the body is saying in that sense. And also very common is to have this difficulty sleeping. In one hand, you are very restless and you feel this restlessness on a daily basis, but at the same time it's very difficult to fall asleep. And at the same time you are going through your day feeling really tired. So this is quite a vicious cycle, which is quite hard to handle, and it's very good to pay attention when you are feeling it this way, because this is also a very clear sign that something needs to change and that you should start acting upon this right now. So thinking in practical terms, what can you do about this? And maybe I'll sound a bit repetitive, but this is something I talk about on and on and on because it is so important, which is self-care first. And this can be from taking a walk in nature, from taking a long bath without your cell phone with you, and doing anything you can do to help you sleep better. Sometimes I talk about supplements that you can use, and I'm all for the use of supplements in a good measure and with informed conscious of what you're doing, obviously. But basically anything that you can do that tells your body it's okay, everything is fine, we have time, we can enjoy life, we have the means to relax, and we have the time, anything that you can do that can help the body to calm down and relax, that will be incredibly helpful with handling anxiety and holding it down so it doesn't build up. Another thing is to practice psychological flexibility, and this is a very interesting concept because so many times we are focused on doing things in the same way and on seeing things from the same perspective, and we are so rigid in the opinions we have and the perspectives we take, and we are just like, I am this person and there's nothing I will change about myself, and this is how things are, and that's it. And psychological flexibility is such a powerful tool when it comes to handling life's challenges, because it's all about practicing seeing things from different perspectives, practicing being a different person, practicing experimenting with different things. So what this gives is that when life throws at you a challenge, you are so much more equipped to look at it from different angles and find different solutions and also find different interpretations. So practicing psychological flexibility in the sense of, looking at things differently. How can I be more creative about this? How can I find different solutions? All this really empowers you to handle life's challenges and obviously to handle anxiety and to keep it from building up. And then another thing that you can do is to practice some kind of control that sends this signal that, wait a minute, I actually have control over my life. Because many times anxiety is this feeling that we cannot control our life, and this feeling of powerlessness, this feeling that you are powerless, really creates this sense of anxiety, because it's like, oh my god, I don't have the power, and what can happen, and if something happens I won't be able to do anything. So this is a very tricky feeling to have. So one simple thing that you can do to kind of send the message that you do have some control over your life is to, for example, start tracking your habits. This is something that not only will make you see more of how you are going through life, the kind of things that you do and that you don't do, but it also can give you a sense of control over these habits. So, let's imagine that there are 2 or 3 or 4 things that you think are very important for you to do every day. It's really good to have like a little table where you can like cross out, today I did it and today I didn't. Or today I did it as well, and maybe another day you don't do it and it's okay, but then the next day you do it again. And just this kind of, just the fact that you are tracking yourself can provide you a bit of this sense of control. And also adding to this habit tracker kind of thing is to plan better for your weeks, for your months, because when you have like a vision for what you want to accomplish and how you are going to accomplish, that can also give you a much greater sense of control that can really help you to keep anxiety. And then it can also be that, just one simple thing, you can choose one simple thing that you want to commit to, like, doing the 10,000 steps per day, for example. And when you commit very seriously to do that and you track whether or not you're doing it and you see, I actually can do this, this can also give you a sense of control, which is very helpful. So in this video I talked about how anxiety can build up progressively and how it's good that you catch the signs and its earliest states. And then we also saw how small signs such as muscle tension or difficulty falling asleep or just becoming more irritable can be a sign that something is out of balance and can be a sign for you to stop and reflect what should be changed. And then I also talked about some things that you can do to handle anxiety from its earlier states. Things like self-care or psychological flexibility are crucial when it comes to keeping anxiety from building up and taking over your life. I would like you to keep in mind that anxiety is possible to handle, and it's best handled when it's at its initial states. And in that sense, I want you to think about all the things that you heard in this video and what kind of stood out as the most interesting for you to apply, and how can you start applying it already today. Think about it and do something about it. Join me next week. I will be talking about one breathing technique that I think it's fantastic and it helps me a lot to calm myself down. Sometimes when I have difficulty falling asleep, I also like to practice it, and it's just a really nice way to calm the nervous system in a very simple 3-minute practice, and I hope that you enjoy that. If you would like to see it, subscribe or come by next week, and I hope to see you then.